This lesson will show you how to design on a blueprint. Now, if you've ever looked at our designing on a photo tutorial, then much of what you're about to see will look familiar. Alright, I do want to insert my blueprint. To do that, I'm going to click on this command right here, which is my Insert Image command. And this window will open up. And now I have to look for that blueprint on my computer, so I will click on the Load Image button right here. And just navigate to the folder where you have the blueprint, and in this case I can see it. So I'm going to select my blueprint and click on the Open button. And then I can come in and click on my Insert Image button. There. You do want to make sure of two things. One is that your blueprint is a JPEG. If your blueprint happens to be a PDF, you're going to have to convert that to a JPEG first before inserting it onto the canvas. The other thing that you have to remember is the size of that blueprint. Now, the default canvas, remember, will accommodate a design that is 333 inches wide, or just over 27 feet. But I happen to know that this particular blueprint is larger than that. This one will be over 32 feet wide. So this blueprint, when sized to scale, will not fit on the default canvas. It will be too large. So in this case, I do want to change to a 1/4 inch scale. That will accommodate a floor plan that will be 480 inches wide or 40 feet wide. And since I know that my floor plan here is going to be over 32 feet wide, I need to use a 1/4 inch scale. To change that scale, click on Edit, Canvas, Resize. And you'll see this little pop-up window, and we're going to change the dimensions to 480 by 360. And I'm going to zoom out so you can see more of the canvas. There. Now you can notice that our blueprint, which is still unsized, the blueprint itself is not to scale, but it looks smaller on a 1/4 inch canvas. Now that we have the canvas set up to the right scale, we want to scale our blueprint. You need to know the measurement of something that is in the blueprint. So for this example, I happen to know that the measurement in this room happens to be 88 inches wide. So we can take our dimension tool right here. I'm going to click on it, click on the canvas, and I will type in 88. Then I can draw my dimension tool. Remember to keep your finger pressed on the Shift key so it will be perfectly straight. There. So you will want to resize your blueprint so that that room is the size of your dimension tool. So I have to resize that blueprint larger. So I'm going to move it up towards the corner. Remember, I want to keep it within my boundary border. And I want to resize this larger. Now when you go to resize your blueprint, or if you were working on a photo and you wanted to resize a photo, make sure to keep your finger depressed on the Shift key as you're resizing it so that you don't distort the proportions. Just have your finger depressed on the Shift key as you pull on that corner handle, and I'm just going to make this bigger. Now I need to position that dimension tool so I can measure the size of that room. I'm going to lasso that dimension tool so I can easily grab it, and then I'll nudge it to the left. Remember to nudge an object on the canvas. You can just depress an arrow key on your keyboard to gently nudge it into place. I could use my mouse, but you can sometimes get a more precise movement using the arrow key. Now this looks to be pretty good in size. I'm just going to have to adjust my blueprint, make it a tad larger, so that that dimension tool measures the size of that room. Remember to keep the Shift key depressed as you pull on the corner handle so that you don't distort the image. There, that looks pretty good. Now notice my blueprint fits within the boundary border. If you have a blueprint that exceeds the boundary border, even when you are in 1/4 inch scale, then we recommend that you break down that blueprint, crop it before you bring it into DreamDraper. Once you have the blueprint to scale on your canvas, then you can proceed just as you would before. I don't need that dimension tool anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. I'll lasso it, and I can either click on the delete key on my keyboard, or I can click on the trash can to get rid of it. Then you do want to lock down that blueprint so it doesn't accidentally move. Click on your layers tab and lock that layer there. And then create your second layer and start designing on that second layer. Now, on a blueprint in this particular example, this happens to be the bathroom, and this is the kitchen. Remember, your templates are in this category here at the bottom of your design library. And you do have templates for bathroom fixtures and kitchen fixtures. In our last example, where we had a simple rectangular floor, we filled that with a wood grain. Well, if you wanted to fill most of this floor with a color or a wood grain, that's no problem. I'm going to use one of the drawing tools. Now, I could use the cubic Bezier or the polygon tool or the polyline tool, but in this example I will use the cubic Bezier. So I'm going to click on my drawing tool, and then I'm going to start clicking along the perimeter, and every time I turn a corner I'm going to click. So I will start by clicking here, and I will move my cursor over to the corner and click. I'll go down to this corner and I'll click again, and I'll click here. I'm going to click here, click here. I'll come over here, and in this case I just want the floor to come up to this area here. So I'm going to click, and you double click where you want to stop drawing. So I'll go to the corner and double click. There. Now, I've drawn or traced the perimeter of this area. And what I'd like to do right now is I want to fill it with color, and then I'll fill it with the wood grain. So to fill it with color, I'm going to open up my properties window, and I'll just click on the color button here. There. Then I can go ahead and fill that floor with a wood grain. There. Now I just want to show you something. This is a little tip. I'm going to use the cubic Bezier again to draw a shape. I'll just draw any old shape down here. And I'll click, 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 click. Now I want to close the loop here, and I will double click, but instead of clicking right where the line began, I'm just going to leave a little bit of an opening to demonstrate something. So I'll click right here. And as you can see, there is this little opening. Now, if I try to fill this with a texture or a fabric, watch this. I'll go into my textures category again, and I'll pick this wood grain. I'm double clicking, and my object that I just drew will not fill. The reason why it doesn't fill is because there is this little opening. And that's why I suggest that when you do draw something with one of the free-form tools, that you fill it with a color first, and then fill it with your fabric or your texture. There. You see, that's just a little tip. And remember to lock your blueprint on layer 1, and if you've drawn a floor, do that on layer 1 as well, and then bring in your design pieces on layer 2. When you open your file, make sure to check layer 2 so that you are designing on layer 2, and if you switch canvases, check your layers.